Today, I will be discussing the short love story The Dead by James Joyce. The Dead is the most critically acclaimed and widely studied story in James Joyce Dubliners, a collection of 15 short stories written by James Joyce and published in 1914. As we remarked before, Dubliner is not regarded as one of the landmark texts of modern literature. Before talking about the analysis, let's talk about the summary of the book. The story takes place sometime between New Year's Day and the Feast of the Epiphany, January 6. Epiphany is a fitting word for the story, giving its ending. Despite his rather gauche social manners, Connery is in many ways the centerpiece, the male figure at the heart of the social occasion. Joyce provides the interplay between the hostess and their guest. Gabriel and Greta leave the party for the hotel where they are staying. Gabriel becomes aware that he desires his wife, but she remains oblivious to this. She is too busy remembering the young man, Michael Frey, who she loved back in Galway before marrying her husband. He is humbled by this realization, which amounts to an awareness that takes him outside of his own thoughts and self-absorption. Since then, Gabriel has been feeling a lot of emotions. He is mostly feeling insecure about himself and really jealous. Now let's analyze this short story. The story reiterates the great themes of Dubliners. Gabriel's marriage is clearly suffering from paralysis, the condition of nearly all the characters in the collection. This accounts for his excitement at story ends when he believes that Greta's passion relates to him and them, as their marriage has decayed badly over the years. In this story, paralysis is represented as usual by the colors yellow and brown. But Joyce also employs the symbolism of snow and ice. After all, if something is frozen, it's motionless, paralyzed. Then, when Gabriel enters his aunt's party, a little fringe of snow lay like a cape on the shoulders of his overcoat, and like the toe caps on the toes of his galoshes. And as the button of his overcoat slipped with a squeaking noise through the snow-stiffened frieze, a cold, fragrant air from out of doors escaped from crevices and folds. The symbolism returned at story ends, in the justly famous final paragraph describing a snow-covered Ireland. Not only Gabriel, but his entire homeland has been paralyzed, Joyce is saying, or more precisely, revealing. Alternately, at the conclusion of Dubliners, something connects Gabriel to his fellow Irishman, a connection he had until that time disavowed. Gabriel's paralysis is partly a result of his denial and lack of interest in those fellow Irishmen, dramatized in his encounter with Miss Evors. Like Kathleen Kearney in A Mother, she is involved in the movement to restore Irish language and culture to the island. Gabriel writes a column for a newspaper opposed to Irish nationalism. Indeed, he goes so far as to tell Miss Ivors, Irish is not my language. Additionally, he tells her that he is uninterested in a vacation to the west of Ireland, preferring to holiday in Europe. She pairs by calling him a West Briton, that is an Irishman who identifies primarily with England, a cultural trader, and this appears to be at least partly true. After all, Gabriel plans to quote in his after-dinner speech from work of the poet Robin Browning. When he finally delivers that speech, it includes extemporaneous remarks criticizing the new generation of Miss Ivors and her associates. Gabriel wears galoshes, fashionable in Europe, thought more or less unheard of in Ireland. He earned his college degree at Eglinton Trinity College in Dublin. When he thinks of going outside, what comes to his mind is the snow, covered monument to Wellington, a British hero who played down his birth in Ireland. And speaking of monuments, another symbol of Ireland's inability to progress is Gabriel's grandfather, riding his horse Johnny around and around the statue of William III, conqueror of the Ireland on behalf of England. The circles as symbols of pointless repetition was introduced in the story after the race. And two gallants, This, as many Dumbledore stories before it, the dead connects paralysis with English. To summarize, Gabriel suffers from paralysis at the least partly because of his admiration for and attraction to things English. Of course, Joyce also holds the Catholic Church accountable for Ireland's failure to move forward into the monarchy. This is one of the story's most striking image, that of Trappist monks sleeping in their coffins, which is a myth, but that does not make it at least effective a symbol. Joyce portrays the most pure of clergymen as no less than the living dead, zombies among us. Though the dead includes much believable dialogue, it is the story in all of the Dubliner with the most evocative description. For example, Joyce uses closely observed details to add to the reader's understanding of the story characters. As in the description of Freddie Malins, his face was fleshy and pallid, touched with color only at the thick hanging lobes of his ears, and at the wide wings of his nose. Not only but twice Freddie is described as rubbing the knuckles of his left fist backwards and forward into his left eye. As a result, he is easily visualized, and despite Freddie's movement in and out of the Morgan sisters' party, the reader never quite loses track of him. Joyce also uses description for pacing. The author cinematically cuts away to the ordinary object within the room during the story's enormously dramatic ultimate scene. The result is that the already considerable dramatic tension of the dead actually increases. A petticoat string dangled to the floor. One boot stood upright, its limb upper fallen down. The fellow of it lay upon its side. As effective as the combination of theme, symbolism, dialogue, and description were in the prior story, Grace, they mix here to yield something even more impressive. A story that begins simply, builds slowly, eventually goes hypnotic in its power, and ends in a truly heart-rending burst of emotion. One by one, they were all becoming shades. Gabriel thinks of the people he knows, and until now he has taken for granted. Better pass boldly into the other world, in the fully glory of some passion, than fade and wither dismally with age. I decided to add the analysis of two characters, Lily and Gabriel. Let's start about the character Lily. Lily has a good relationship with Kate, Julia, and Mary Jane, as she rarely makes mistakes. She becomes bitter when Gabriel makes a comment about her being of the age to marry. As for Gabriel Conroy, he is Kate and Julia's favorite nephew, and the son of their sister Ellen, who has died. Gabriel seeks validation from the woman in his life. His aunts culturally praise him, and he returns small rounds for them in return. However, he allows his male pride and desires for male validation to distract him from having meaningful interactions with women, and he often falls to see how his words and action affect the female characters. Additionally, Gabriel is distracted by nostalgia and fails to find passion in the present. He is very interested in England and the continent, and generally detests Dublin life. At the end of the